Hello, and welcome to another Steel Division Divisional Overview. And today we're taking a look at the 3rd Guard Mechanized Corps, the Soviet division that has partisan dudes in it. So if you want to throw a Molotov cocktail at a Nazi, this is a division for you. Yeah, they probably didn't call it Molotov cocktails, that would be rather derogatory to Molotov, the Soviet foreign ambassador dude. But nonetheless, let's get right into it. So this is a B tier mechanized division, and in terms of slots, it's pretty well-rounded. You're a bit lackluster in terms of support and anti-air, but everything else you got a decent amount with a lot of recon, infantry, and tanks at your disposal. So let's jump right into the recon. So recon, you got quite a lot of options. So you got partisan snipers, or sniper. Is it a one-man or one Roman army? I should really say. It's a 10-point sniper squad. It's pretty cool. You know, with only one man in it, or woman, I should say, you die pretty quickly, and you only get 3 of them in a phase at one salve. In terms of transports, you're mainly going to be getting them in the bike, as it's pretty damn fast. You also have bike recon. Don't know if I really want to use these. They're just pretty pants overall. You got the Doziers, your 2-man recon teams. In terms of transport for your recon infantry, it's pretty nice. The main things are you got BA-64s, which are great and cheap. You got carrier Devkas, which actually has a boys anti-tank rifle on it. Not the best AT rifle in the road, to be entirely honest, but it's interesting to say the least. You also got some Bren carriers, M3 recon cars. You got Studebakers. You got bikes. And some WCs and ZIS-5s if you want. Never take the ZIS-42s. Never take the ZIS-42s. But it's honestly some pretty nice recon transports. I like the BA-64s a lot, as they're cheap and fast. And sometimes you just need something that's cheap and fast. You also have the carrier Dushkum, which is cool, because the Soviets got a bunch of Bren carriers, and they're like, this is cool, but the Bren gun's pretty pants. Let's put a 50 cal on the back. That's probably a pretty good idea, as this gives you some rather serious firepower. 20 points for a 50 caliber machine gun with recon optics that's mobile, and it's pretty mobile. Yeah, not the best on-road speed, but pretty good off-road. This is not that bad, and you get quite a decent amount in A phase, with 6 of them at 1-star vet and 4 at 2-star vet. A very nice unit to have. You got your motorized Devkas, you can get used with the M3 recon cars or scout cars, and also your regular Devkas, which have the lovely American bazooka. Pretty good to have. You got Valentine recon tank, pretty meh, only 40mm, no HE shells, and it's slow. I don't like it a lot. Or you could just spend 15 points more and get a T-34, which is pretty much better in every single radio, a little bit less armoured. So some pretty good recon options overall. Nothing that's going to blow your mind, but you got some nice transports, you got some nice infantry options, you got some cheap snipers. What more can you really ask for? And you got like 4 slots of recon at only one activation point, so that's very nice. Infantry. So you got the partisan infantry, and we got a few options. You got partisan DPs. He's like a Bren group, but better in a Bren group, because they got SVTs, which is rather nice, and 1 DP28, and some really cool bids. Just look at those dudes. That is some Slav stuff, right? Yeah, and they got the dude with the cigarette. Really cool models. I really do like the partisan models in game. As you can see, it's very ragtag. For someone even got that dude, yeah, the Cossack hat. But nonetheless, you can get trophy them unvetted. I'd really recommend getting partisans unvetted most of the time, as you just want to spam them. But for a 10-point squad with SVTs and DP28, it's like a 6-man squad. That's not that bad. It's really not that bad. You also got the Partisani regulars. These guys have been nerfed, as you only get 1 card of them now, and 20 points. But they're still good. What makes them good? They got Molotov cocktails. And Molotov cocktails are really nice. Because here's how Molotov cocktails work. You throw it at the enemy. Now, when it lands and hits the enemy, it does a bit of damage, but it forces the enemy infantry squad to move. So if you're fighting close quarters against a flamethrower squad, or like a pioneer squad or satchel charges, I'm fairly certain they can't use those weapons while moving. So you pretty much shut them up for a little bit and you can open fire. If not the best direct fire loadout, I mean, you got 2 PPSHs and 10 Mossens. It's a Trove Man squad, so they are pretty beefy. But the Molotovs are really the main deal with this infantry unit, as you just use them in close quarters to just shut up other close quarters infantry squads. They're pretty nice. Once again, you get 12 of them in the 12-man squad, so it's kind of nice fitting number-wise. They're pretty good to have. Highly, highly recommend. So, of course, they're not spammy. Also, all the partisan dudes only come in Zis 5s, which are a bit of a slow transport. So that kind of sucks. You also got partisan leaders, which is a very good card to have, as you get 4 commanders or leaders in A phase, which is a pretty good amount. And you also have smoke grenades, which is also rather nice. And it's a 5-man squad, so it's better than your Avto Comratis, which are only a 3-man squad. In terms of regular infantry, you got Sapri PPSHs. These guys have been nerfed pretty heavy, as they lost their Satchel Charges, unfortunately, which doesn't make him really that good anymore for that initial A-phase rush, trying to get into the town and throwing a Satchel Charge at a Pioneer squad that thinks he can be king of the town. So, I mean, they still have Panzerfaust, because it's pretty much like a 10-point Panzerfaust squad, which is nice, and you can still get them in the fast transports, the Jeeps, if you want to do that rush, but they're no longer as good in the anti-infantry department, which does suck. I don't really like using these guys anymore, unfortunately, because of that. Apart from that, you got your pretty standard Russian infantry loadout. You got tank Desolate keys, which aren't really that worthwhile in this division, as you really don't get many half-track transports, as you can tell. You got guards, and then guard TPs. I only get 1 card of guard TPs, unfortunately, as these are usually the better thing to spam, as you got 2 TP-28, as well as an anti-tank rifle, while the regular guards are, well, you know, just 1 DP and anti-tank grenades, which is a bit pants, but they are extremely spammable. As you can see, you can get quite a lot of them. Same with the guard TPs, you get the same amount of them in terms of transports. In terms of transports all over, the main thing you're really going to be using is Studebakers most of the time. You don't get many other half-track options, and no way, don't use Assist 42. I gotta say every time, do not use Assist 42. Avs and Chikis are alright, they're pretty good. Yeah, they're a bit tough to use, as you have to micro-em. You have to micro-em a bit more compared to like a Sapri squad, for example, because they can only shoot at 100 meters, and in forests and towns that's not too bad, but once you get into light forest, where you can see past 100 meters, you just have to keep your eye out. But that's still not bad. They all devastate stuff once they get within that range, but it requires good micro to really make it worthwhile. Saparis are always lovely to have, as they got that very nice SVT and DP-28 loadout, as well as Satchel Charges. Really, such a nice squad, Saparis, as they're so well-rounded. And for 25 points, bang-on deal. I always recommend taking some Saparis. But yeah, it's pretty regular infantry loadouts. You got your different sorts of leaders. I mean, a lot of the Soviet infantry loadouts are pretty the same from division. But just remember, the main thing, you get the partisans, and then you get some guards and some Saparis, and you just spam. This is a division that's really focused on getting a lot of infantry and just spamming them an awful lot. So, unvetted is really the way to go. Now, in tanks, it's also spam, because you got Shermans. Lots and lots of Shermans. 7 whole cards of the regular, and 2 cards of the leaders. Shermans are interesting in SD2 now. They're no longer as good as they were in SD44, where they could be really scary against tanks. Because now in SD2, the Sherman is definitely more relegated to the infantry fire support role, as they do have a hard time fighting Panzer IVs and Stugs, especially at longer ranges. They still have stabilizers, rather, so going around corners and shooting stuff is still a fantastic strategy with the Sherman. But you can't really fight at long range against anything for Pag 40, for example, as you will lose. You do want to use these close quarters pretty much exclusively. Try not to get them in open fields. But you do get a lot of Shermans. A lot of them, as you can tell. And also it's a really nice veterancy curve on the Shermans. For example, if the A-phase run, it's 5 unvetted, 4 at 1 star, and 3 at 2 stars. So that's a really nice veterancy curve. So it's actually not a bad idea to take these guys vetted sometimes. It's actually a pretty good idea. And they're very good infantry fire support because, of course, they got a 50 caliber machine gun. and a lot of HE shells and AP shells in total. Well, a lot of HE shells for infantry support. That only really matters. You know, at the same time, like, it only does 1 HE damage, which is the same as, like, T-34s and whatnot. It's not like an ST-44 where the Sherman did more HE damage compared to other tanks, if I recall. You know, don't 100% quote me on that. In terms of other tanks, we also got Valentine Command. I don't know how you take it when you can just get Sherman commands. I mean, you can get a lot of them, but they're really slow. You're not going to be able to keep these up with your other tanks. You might as well just get Infantry Command. As I think Infantry are actually faster than the Valentine off-road. So yeah. And you got Valentine Mark 9s. These are actually pretty decent now, as they've been given high explosive shells. They don't do much damage, as you can tell. They do less damage compared to the Sherman 75, but at least it has an option to shoot at infantry that do try to get in close. Well, the Valentine Mark 9s are more your anti-tank tanks, as they have a pretty good AT gun at 115 AP. That's better than the 90 AP of the Sherman, and it shoots very fast, 12 rounds a minute compared to 7 rounds a minute of the Sherman. This is a very good tank at dealing with Panzer IVs and Stugs, especially just shooting at rate of fire. You can just rat-a-tat-tat, and even if you don't penetrate, you can get some pretty good critical hits just due to the amount of shots that you can shoot. Of course, the main issue with Valentine Mark 9s, they're slow. They're really, really slow. You do not use this as a tank. If you think this is a tank, I mean, you look at it. It's armor, so it's a tank. It's got a turret and a gun. That's a tanky thing. It's got tracks, so it must be a tank. No, you're wrong. It's a mobile anti-tank gun. That's all it is. It's a tank destroyer. Use it purely defensively. Try to keep it in medium forest, light forest. Even though it has bad stealth, you still want to just use it in that role and have Recon nearby to spot stuff. Because this is a very bad tank to attack with. Even in open ground, it's not a good idea at all. So use it defensively, and it's alright. And also, you gotta be kind of smart with using them too, because they're so slow to get to the front line. You gotta be preemptive and when and where you need them. Because it's probably gonna take them like 4 minutes or so from buying the tank to get to the area where it needs to be. So you're gonna have to be a little bit patient. The British didn't make fast tanks. They're very slow. Support, you got some cool options. You got the flamethrower teams, which are definitely good to have. You can get them in jeeps, of course, so you can rush them up and do your A-phase rush to get into the town, and they're very good at doing that because they got a flamethrower and smoke. So they're good in that early maneuver warfare. 50mm mortars, if you want. They're pretty good, 50mm mortars in general, as they do a lot of damage. But they can be a bit finicky to use. These are the 4-man squad, which is nice as well. In terms of machine guns, you got SG-43s, but rather use the SG-43 when the partisans man to steal some MG-42s. And the MG-42 does have better range by 300 meters. 5 points more, you get a little bit less of them, but it's definitely a worthwhile trade. And this is a partisan division. You want to use the partisans for partisan reasons. You got supply trucks, and then you got your regular commands. You got command infantry, and then Command M2s and Command M3. The Command Infantry is really cool, it does have a sniper rifle. You probably won't really use it, because you should keep your Command Infantry very far away from the front line, so you don't lose your only commander unit that you probably have in your entire division. But if worse comes to worse, you know, you can get some 360 no-scopes if you want. And also, the sniper has 50 rounds of ammunition, unlike the Ski Jaeger leaders, which only have 10 rounds of ammunition. So that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. Anti-tank, it's not that bad. This isn't a Soviet infantry division, so they actually bothered giving you some decent amount of anti-tank guns. Partisan PTRDs, don't know why you'd ever use them, because you got just regular PTRSs. Semi-automatic AT rifles kind of beat out single shots. Pretty obvious, yeah. You also got Panzerschreck teams, if you so desire. And then you got your standard 45mm, which are pretty cool. You can get them in jeeps, so they're fantastic in that early rush, as you can just rush them into a good area and just shoot trucks as they come down the road. That's pretty much open blitzes most of the time. And yeah, these 45mm are always pretty good, especially in the early game. And you also get them at 2-star vetted at a rather decent number amount. So that's not that bad as well. You got 2 card assist 2s, which is very nice to have, as these are your pretty much heavy-duty AT weaponry. They're really not that bad. Assist 3s are alright. They're just alright. I don't really recommend taking them when you got assist 2s available. And then you got 2 cards of SU-85s, which is also pretty nice. These are your best anti-tank weapon you have in this division. The assist 2 does like 5 more AP damage with the AP CR cells compared to the SU-85, but the SU-85 is armored and it's mobile, so it's not that bad. Not that bad. It's your best anti-tank unit to deal with, and it also has a rather nice veterancy curve again. Like in B phase, for example, 8 unvetted, 6 vetted, and then 4 vetted, which isn't that bad, honestly. That's pretty decent. Anti-air. Yeah, you got your Discom thing on the back of a truck, you got Maxims on the back of a truck, you got your regular 37 mils, but more importantly, you got some M17s, some American Lend-Lease. Hell yeah, brother. And these are very nice to have as a mobile. I mean, can you really say no to 450 cals? You can't. You can't. It's not 420 mils, unfortunately. It's not a flag villain, but it's still not bad. But it's mobile, so you got go on a few. Artillery is alright. It's nothing really that crazy. Artillery is actually pretty interesting now. It's a 2-man squad instead of a larger squad. And you get a decent amount of them, and they also act as recon units now. Which is cool. And so it's a recon unit in the artillery tab, but also can call in corrected artillery shot. Not really useful in this division, as your only corrected shot are SU-76s. So yeah. I don't think it's really worthwhile getting the artillery as card when all you have is SU-76s. Especially when the artillery, it gets a little bit expensive and there's some better options, or options that you want to take. You got artillery leaders if you want some extra leader units on the field. Some 26mm guns, which are alright. You got your 82mm and 120mm mortars. You don't use the 82mm because you just got mortar bikes. And mortar bikes are better than the 82mm in pretty much every way. A little bit less ammunition, but you can move and not get hit by enemy artillery because you're mobile. So that's cool. SU-76s, like I mentioned before, probably mainline artillery unit you're going to be using in this division, as it's pretty well-rounded. And also, if you just keep it up towards the front line, you can just use your own corrected shot bonuses. Yeah, the SU-76 gives, which is 1.5 kilometers, to give corrected shot. So this is definitely something you just want to use close range instead of just getting artilleryist and calling in corrected artillery shot. Also, artillery has been nerfed in the very recent patch. It has came out, so it's a bit more tougher to use. It's less reactive as it has a longer aim time now. So it's definitely worthwhile to keep these guys front and close so you can take advantage of the corrected shot, which decreases aim time, which is pretty important. You got some off-map artillery, only 152 mils. Nothing all that crazy. I'm not really a big fan of off-map artillery in general in SD2. I find it less effective, which is probably a good thing, frankly. Just due to the maps, especially in 1v runs, are much wider. Where in SD44, off-map artillery, once you call in as like an artillery striker, take up like 20% of the front line usually. Well, now it's much less of a takes up much less of a zone of death and destruction. And I users find it better just to have on-map artillery, especially now on-map artillery is long range and whatnot. Just off-map artillery isn't really all that great, is what I'm trying to say in a lot of words. And then you got the BM8. This is really cool, as it's a goddamn thing from War Thunder that always kills you in low tier. But it's a T-60 with a bunch of Katyusha rockets on top, which is cool because it's a Katyusha that's very hard to counter battery, as it's armored, and it has, decent armor. You only get one card of him, and you don't get a huge amount. It's pretty much the same availability of Katyushas. Of course, you want to take them unvetted, as, well, rocket artillery is going to be inaccurate with or without veterancy. It's always pretty random. But they're nice to have. They're good at softening up a hard point for you to, rush up with the infantry and blow up a bunch of stuff. So yeah, they're pretty nice to have, these BMs. Airplanes, you got some alright options. Tu-2 Recon planes. I mean, you can only get him a 2-star veteran cheese is pretty weird, and honestly, veteran cheese doesn't really help out, as this is a recon plane. I mean, it helps if it gets shot at by AA, but it's not going to make that big of a difference. I'd rather just have more of them than less. So I don't really recommend taking this. There's 2 main planes that you're going to be using. Lags and P-38s. Or P-39s, I should say, if I can actually read Arabic numbers. So the lags compared to the P-39s. Lags are slower by 50 kilometers or so. They are 15 points cheaper, and they have a bit worse of... Yeah, they have a worse offensive arsenal compared to the P-39 Air Cobras. But the nice thing about lags is the amount that you get. As an A phase unvetted, you get 3 of them, and a B phase, you get bloody 6 of them unvetted. Yeah, that's a lot of fighters in one card. That's pretty good. Well, the Cobra has still standard 2 to 4 ratio, so you get a little bit less of them. Of course, both of them are good planes to have. You can't really go wrong. They're nice and cheap. They get the job done. Nothing all that crazy. You also got lag bombers. You got the 50 kilogram bombers, which are pants. I wouldn't really recommend taking it. 100 kilogram bombers still pretty pants, but it's a lot less pants as the bombs do a bit more damage, of course. And then you got the napalm bomber, which is also pretty pants, because the Soviet napalm planes are they're just bad, honestly. They do a decent amount of damage in the initial explosive hit of hitting the infantry, but they don't cover that wide of an area. And I find infantry that are within napalm don't actually take that much attrition damage to the fire and the flames that they're suffering, and they can usually just run out of it and get out of safety. And also, the amount that you get of napalm bombers, or the availability, is pretty pants compared to regular bombers. For example, in terms of P-39s, you got the fighter one, which we just mentioned, which is pretty cool, and then you got the rocket one, which is definitely one of the better close support planes that you can get, as it has 632mm rockets, which is great for direct strikes on 80 guns, medium tanks, annoying stern shooting squads. Very good plane to have at your disposal. And then, of course, we got the IL-4s. One of 200, 2 500 kilogram bombs, and one with 1,000 kilogram bomb. They are alright heavy bombers. I'm not a huge fan of them, as they don't have a great defensive armament, and they are a bit slow, and I find the speed, for example, of like a P-39 Cobra, is definitely more useful to have, rather than just a slow, big, heavy bomber. And the IL-4 isn't the best of the slow, big, heavy bombers that you can get. It's pretty mediocre in that regard. And defense, it's pretty standard: barbed wire, gun pits, trenches. You got Maxims, you got your PTRD bunkers, and then you got 2 45mm bunkers and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slots. So, pretty decent defensive rise. So that's a unit overview. So let's take a look at a deck that I built earlier. And this is the deck. As usual, the deck code is in the description below if you want to import this deck into your game. But nonetheless, let's just explain it real fast. So Recon, Partisan Snipers, they're fast, you can get them in their initial engagement and snipe some stuff. Usually a good idea to put them in church towers. Carrier does come for some cheap A-phase fire support. B-phase, we take Doja in the BA-64. You could also take motorized with Devkas in the M3 Scout Car, which gives you a bit of extra firepower and HP on the infantry, but it's at a 40-point unit compared to the 25. And this is a bit more of a flimsy, of course, there's a little less infantry, and this thing only has a machine gun compared to a 50 cal, but for 15 points cheaper, it's not that bad. I usually just use Recon mainly for spotting, not really for combat. So, just having more of them and cheaper is a better idea. Apart from Redevkas, I use these guys for combat all the time, because they got bazookas. I put these in towns, and I hope Panzer IV's getting close. I really hope they come close so I can juke them with good old American rocket launcher technology. Or Tigers. Blowing up Tigers and Panthers is even better with bazookas. Infantry. It's just infantry spam. We don't take any veterancy apart from the partisan leaders, as you just spam infantry. It's pretty standard for a lot of us. Heck, all divisions, I'd really say you just spam unvetted infantry most of the time, as you just need numbers more than anything. But nonetheless, partisan DPs, regular partisans, and one card of regular guards, just to help augment your A-phase infantry, and this is the only infantry that have an A-phase that have anti-tank weaponry, so you kind of want that. Even though it's only AT grenades, partisan leaders, of course. Then B-phase, respawn guard DPs, because by God, he's pretty good at long range. Not as good as Strokey DP, but still pretty good. And also have AT rifle, which is nice. Cavalry is round B-phase for infantry spam purposes. And then C-phase, respamming the hell out of the guards. 27 guards, you're just not going to run out. By C-phase, you just human rave tactics is really the name of the game here. Tanks. Now, with the tanks in A-phase, we're taking 2 cards of Shermans with 2-star veterancy, and 1 card of the leader unit with 2-star veterancy. I think the leader unit's kind of bugged, because in A-phase, the 1-star and 2-star vet is the exact same availability, so just take advantage of that, and hopefully Eugene won't notice. But it's pretty good. I highly recommend taking the Shermans in A-phase with 2-star veterancy, as you're really only losing 2 tanks per card, which isn't really all that bad. And you can really make the most of it in A-phase. As an A-phase, against a lot of standard German divisions, I'm thinking like Panzer IVs and Stugs, they don't have many of them out on the field. They're usually using a bit more light vehicles and infantry and AT guns and whatnot. So having the extra veterancy, so you can get that, very fast reaction time and snapshot onto, any enemy target is extremely useful. As a 2-star veterancy, Shermans they just see something and it dies. And if you get the command Sherman, you bump it up to 3-star veterancy and it dies even faster. Once you get into B and C phase, you just take the 1-star vetted Shermans, as the veterancy makes less of a difference into the later stages of the game, especially against German divisions of Tigers and Panthers and Panzer IVs. As the Shermans have a very hard time dealing with those tanks. Whether you're highly vetted or not as highly vetted, it's not gonna matter, as your gun just can't really penetrate those sorts of tanks at long range engagements. So you just kind of want the numbers for spammy purposes. But still, we got like 24 Shermans once we get into B and C phase in total, so it's still a pretty good spammy amount. You might run out in longer games, of course, but it's usually pretty good to keep you going. And then 1 card of Valentine Mark 9 to 1-star veterancy in B phase. Really just for the anti-tank purposes, of course. If you think about it, you can argue it's his trove anti-tank guns, which is pretty good availability for an anti-tank gun, quote-unquote, because it's an anti-tank gun, but it's not. It's Skrodin's AT weapon. It's an anti-tank weapon, and it's a tank and not a tank at the same time. I don't know where I'm going with that. It's good to have on the defense. But yeah. Support. Now, this is where it gets a little bit controversial, because you may notice we have no commander at all. That's just because the support, it's really quite tough to justify getting a commander in a sense, because you want the 2-man flamethrower squads, you really do, because you need him to rush early on into the town so you can get an initial infantry engagement in your sleeve, essentially. And we are taking that. I should actually take him in the jeeps. I will reflect that in the deck code already. You have to get them in jeeps because they're much faster compared to the bikes that you can get them in. Partisan MG42s are great, as they help augment your infantry support early on. You can't really go with wrong with MG42s, and then 2 supply trucks, 1 in A, and then 1 in B. Pretty standard supply truck options, to be entirely honest. Yeah, you could take out the MG42 team if anything and get a commander, but I don't know, I just find the fire support a bit more useful early on, frankly. Yeah. Anti-tank, even though you got 7 anti-tank slots, you really only have 4, because you're not going to fill out E3, because it's bloody 3 activation point sheets. It's really expensive. So instead, we opt to take A-phase 45 mils and A-phase S2. This is to help deal with any nasty heavy tanks that come online. Mostly going to be maybe a few Tigers or so. And then B-phase, we're mainly using SU-85s. I really like the SU-85s, as they got a pretty decent veterancy curve. And because we don't have commanders, I'm taking them with 2-star veterancy, as these guys are very important at dealing with heavy tanks. Very important. And they're pretty good at that regard, because they got, they're not the best armor, but it means if they do get shot at, that little bit of armor stops them from being super stressed out compared to being an unarmored vehicle or an AT gun, for example. Of course, you can't hide it in forests compared to AT guns, but it's mobile, which is nice to have, and it has pretty good ammunition loadout. So you take one B phase card, one C phase card if you use for the AT capabilities, and I find 10 of them to be more than enough to get you by. Anti-air, pretty light. We're only taking 2 cards worth. A phase 37 mils, and then B phase M17s. Not a lot of anti-air. You don't really want to lose any of them, but it's pretty hard to lose the M17s, as you can just move them around the battlefield. So that's pretty good. It's a decent amount of anti-air, just enough to keep the skies in your favour. Artillery, pretty lackluster. We're taking A phase mortar bike for obvious reasons, great all-round unit. And then B phase, card of unvetted Su-76s is going to be the main backbone of artillery, and then a card of BM-824s for knocking out hard points, essentially. There's a bunch of AT guns and infantry in a forest who want to push it. Well, say hello to M8 rockets, mate. Or say hello to the rockets, mate. Airplanes, once again, it's pretty costly once you get into the last 3 slots. You really only have 3 airplane slots, if we're being entirely honest. So, of course, we're focusing on getting 2 fighter cards. We take the Cobras in A phase, and then the lag in B phase is due to the fact, goddamn, like 6 lags is nice to have. You don't have vetted planes, they're not the best planes, of course, but when you have a lot of fighters, you know, quantity over quality. And then the only close air support plane you're taking are the Rocket Cobras, as are the best bang for your buck, and they're usually the most survivable out of all the other close air support planes you can get. And defense, if you're interested, we've got barbed wire, we've got trenches, 2 bunker maxims, and 2 45mm AT gun cards. So, yeah, also we're taking balanced income, I forgot to mention. I find you can do A phase, B phase rushes. You can do Maverick and Vanguard income with this division if you want. But I find it better to do balanced and you just kind of slowly build up a huge force of infantry and fire support tanks, and then you just kind of push. That's how I find this division to work the best. I have seen people do really good A phase, B phase rushes with it, because you can take advantage of the Shermans with the 2 self-vetted early on. You can do a lot of damage with them, but it's a little bit tougher. You don't have as much mechanized infantry of half-tracks or other units like that, which does make it a bit tough. I mean, of course, you can get tank Desanekis and half-tracks, but tank Desanekis are kind of pants, in all honesty. But I find it better just to do slow, steady, build up infantry and just spam the crap out of everything that you have and hope for the best. So, overall, the pros of this division. Partisans. The partisan infantry you get are pretty cool. DPs, regular partisanis, the snipers, machine gun teams. All pretty nice to have. It's some cool flavour. I think it's pretty cool flavour. And they're pretty useful overall. And also you got the infantry spam, which helps out as well. Sherman spam, of course. You got a lot of Shermans. Shermans great at close range. They're great in infantry support because they got 50 cal, and they're bloody Shermans. You can't say no to a Sherman tank, or Emchers, if we're being Russian here. And also, this is a pretty good division in 1v1, just due to how 1v1 maps work, where they're pretty close range and close quarters, where you're gonna be fighting, you know, usually like 1,000 meters, I say a lot of the time. The Shermans work really well, because they've got stabilizers. They can put in a decent amount of fire support. This is a good division on those shorter maps. And in 1v1s, that's pretty ideal. So this is a good 1v1 division, I would say. Now, the cons. One of the big ones is the lack of heavy AT. You do got, like, good AT cards. You got CIS-2s, you got some SU-85s. You can kind of count the Valentines, in a sense it's due to how they do so many critical hits by their high fire rate. But when Panthers start rolling on the field, and they got a lot of them, you're gonna have a tough time, in all honesty, as your Shermans do a pretty poor job against German heavy armor, and Tigers as well. You do have a very hard time against those units. It's really the big problem with this division. Also, you have some costly activation points. It can be pretty tough to feel like you got enough of everything. Because in terms of actual unit variety in each of the tabs, you got some pretty good units. You're not really lackluster in any of the tabs. It's just, for example, the AT tab where it costs 3 points once you get into the last 3 slots. You really only have 4 AT slots in all honesty. And same with the airplanes too, where it's like 1 run and then 2 points and then it's 3, 3, 4. Pretty expensive as well. And really, you should be getting a lot of infantry and tanks with this division. This is where bulk of activation points should be going. As like I said before, you infantry spam, you tank spam, build up, and push. Easy peasy. So you do lack a little bit. You do lack in the anti-air, artillery, anti-tank, airplane department. Pretty much this whole southern half here of the deck building aspect is where you do hurt a little bit, and you really do have to just make some decisions essentially, make some cuts, do some layoffs. Yeah, that's kind of the tough part of this division. And also, it's a bad division in team games. I would not recommend playing Third Guard Mechanized Corps in team games. Because team games come down to 3 simple things that you want in a deck. You want infantry spam, you want heavy AT weapon spam, and then you want artillery spam, usually heavy artillery. As team games usually revolve around choke points, as you're only really fighting over like 1 or 2 flags per side, where in a 1v1 you're fighting over the entire map where you got a bit more room to maneuver. And in those choke point open ground battles, as team games, the maps are usually more open, you do terribly. You do absolutely terribly. Terrible, I should say, be a bit more grammatically correct. As you lack long range AT, Shermans are bad. You got a few Su-85s and Sis-2s, but it's not really enough against, the dude playing 5th Panzer who has 20 Panthers and B-phase. You're gonna have a hard time. You have infantry spam, which is nice. You got the infantry spam, but that's really it. You just have a really poor time with team games and third mech. You just don't play in team games, is what I'm trying to say. Stick with 1v1s and you have a good time. 2v2s you can do pretty decent, as 2v2s aren't as open and choke pointy as 3v3s and 4v4s, and God forbid playing 10v10s of this division. But it's just the meta of team games. It's just heavy artillery, heavy tanks, just push the choke points and try to win. But nonetheless, that's the whole deck building aspect of this video done. So let's see how this division actually performs in a match. And we are back on a 1v1 on group here. This is from the Lossa North tournament. So anyway, representing Third Guard Mechanized, we have Lossa, Balanced Income. And representing the enemy team, we have Curbs, or the dude with the Polish name I can never pronounce. He's playing as 78th Sturm, and he has a Vanguard income deployment. Now, looking at Lossa's deck, a little less heavy in the tank tab, but he's got a lot of Shermans. He's just spamming more Shermans, taking them unvetted, compared to the 2-star veterancy and A-phase. No Sherman leaders as well, just plain old Sherman spam. Pretty similar in terms of infantry, a lot less recon, pretty much the same support loadout. I don't like how he doesn't have A-phase supply trucks. I really think he should always have A-phase supply trucks, as by God, if your Sherman gets tracked or guns damaged early on, you kind of want to fix it now and wait 5 minutes till B-phase. Anti-tank, a lot less heavy, not taking any extra 85s, but taking Panda Strikes instead, which is also a good choice, but requires a bit more micro and getting in close. But Panda Strikes are always, can't really go wrong with Panda Strikes, they're pretty nice to have. Pretty similar in anti-air, bit similar in artillery, or taking some off-map artillery, none rocket artillery, which I think is a little bit of a shame. I really think you should take advantage of BMH. And in airplanes, not many fighters, only 2 of the lag fighters in A-phase. I guess the P-38 rocket plane can also act as a fighter a bit. And some IL-4s. B-phase runs are the 500 kilogram bombers, and then the C-phase IL-4s are the 1,000 kilogram bombers. So it's still a similar sort of setup of how I built my division, where you just mainly focus on infantry and tanks, and that's the main thing I'm going to spam. But nonetheless, the match is getting started. So this map, it's a pretty interesting map, as it's choke pointy. You got 1, 2, 3 bridges that you have to worry about. And in terms of low deployment, he's mainly just setting up along the bridges. He's got partisan units, as you can tell in the Sis-5, some mortars, a few Shermans here and there, M42s, of course. There's AT guns. Now, Curbs, he is opening up. Yes, he has a few of his T-26 Recon tanks. And the thing is, the 78th Sturm is probably the scariest division to go up against in an infantry battle. As they got Schutzen, which shoots out your infantry. They got Sturmschützen, which really shoots out your infantry in a Sturmy fashion. And Big Elite Pioneers, I believe he has some of them somewhere, which are also really scary. Just, goddamn, it's a really nasty division to fight in infantry battles. As close range they win, long range they win. You really have to rely on using fire support such as mortars and Shermans to get the edge. But as you see, he's using the Ockman Cheeky to get into the position before Curbs do, as Curbs didn't opt to take any of those, fast transport vehicle. Well, it's got, Opel Blitzers, which are pretty fast, but nothing else really. Opel Blitzers are still pretty fast, they're at 90 kilometers an hour. That's the nice thing about Russian divisions in total, is that those Jeeps are pretty much the fastest transport in game. The Germans don't really have anything that's really comparable, so you can usually get to the point first. But Curbs is just setting up Lossa is setting up a defensive position. Same with Curbs. It kind of makes sense, as especially with the income disparity early on, you just kind of want to hold out for the first training minutes and then try to push in C phase where you got that huge advantage, as Curbs probably has less units in C phase and more of a heavier A phase loadout. Yeah, just both sides setting up on their side of the river. Definitely too crazy. Allowing Lossa to set up his Shermans. He's got the Partisans on the left flank. This is good. This is good, as time is on. Well, if Lossa can delay, time is on his side. But as you see here, we got some Big Elite Pioneers pushing. And as you can see, they just shred the Partisans. You do not want to be using the Partisans in this engagement. You want to pull them back, make it so they can only see inside a forest, so they can throw their, rather delicious Molotov cocktails. Though I wouldn't recommend drinking a Molotov cocktail. I think you'd probably die. Especially if you swallowed a lighter after drinking it. It'd probably be a pretty hot taste. Big Elite Pioneers are getting in. And now Lossa's going to try and get in close and use those Molotov cocktails to effect. Probably not going to work at well, as even once the Big Elite Pioneers are moving, they're still pretty deadly with those STGs and G43s. But as you see, after 2 Molotovs, they do good suppression damage and do force a surrender. That just is the power of Partisans, yeah. And he's using those mortar bikes. Gonna be relocating them a little bit back. And this is where Curbs is going to start doing his offensive push. He's going to be crossing the river. The Sherman is in a lovely spot to shoot the stuff as it comes across. But the Sturmschützen, once they get to the other side, they're going to be pretty deadly. The Partisans are going to have a hard time at close range against them. It's really going to come down to the Shermans. As in the infantry engagement, 78th Sturm is the scariest thing to fight against. Just period. It's the best infantry division in game. Just without a doubt. Just Sturmschützen are crazy. But they don't have much armor. They got Stugs, which are, a bit nasty to deal with. But they don't get a lot of Stugs. The Armadas you can kill with Shermans, and they got Nashorns, which you can also kill with Shermans if you can spot them and the enemy's, a little bit silly and keeps the Nashorns in the open, which I do notice a lot of people do. You want to use Nashorns purely defensively, purely in light forest. It's really going to come down to using the Shermans effectively against 78th Sturm, so you can provide adequate fire support to, shut up those STG infantry for good. But you see, close range of Partisans, 2 Molotovs, and a surrender. He's going to be using the mortars. But Sturmschützen here, they're going to be a little bit more nasty to deal with. Partisan DP, it's not doing too bad. The mortars are helping out. Very good use of fire support to try to, even the odds. But lovely as sniper of the Panzerschreck, knocking out that Sherman. Definitely a worthwhile kill, and even bringing an artillery unit on the left-hand side. Yeah, a bit of a slower push. It's hard to really do that crazy A-phase rush in this map, just due to the fact that it's 3 choke points. And Lossa has pretty good defense on all the choke points. So Curbs is dropping in quite a lot of heavy artillery on this one area. But this doesn't have, he's bringing in reinforcements now to help us, and some Stugs as well, which are going to be rather beneficial. The close range of Shermans have a pretty good shot against Stugs, as you can usually get that first shot. Of course, the Stugs have better armor to armor penetration ratio compared to the Shermans. The Shermans do have a pretty hard time penning Stugs even at close range. But it's not terrible. It's not terrible per se. Shermans trying to cut across the bridge, and we also got some regular Shermans. But the Shermans are doing a fantastic job of keeping the infantry at bay. Yeah, we've got a Messerschmitt coming in. Gonna scare off the Sherman, but by God! Wow, that was... No, anti was pretty deadly, but that was a pretty lucky hit, yeah, not Messerschmitt. But you see the Sherman gone now, and not much else in terms of infantry here. Is they're probably going to fold a bit fast, as this 2's in a good spot. And he's actually getting some, oh god, he's actually getting some really good kills. Bailed out one Stug, the other one's being forced back, he's out of action. Judge working, but in left-hand flank, as you see, things aren't going as great. Sherman are pushing, but the Sherman is keeping him at bay. We're seeing some smoke on this too, it's definitely a smart move, and the regular shooting over here mans across the river, and they are nasty at long quarters, long-range engagements. And Lossa is slowly losing at the moment. It's 10-14. He is also losing the right-hand side. Probably going to lose another flag here, as he really does need some infantry to be brought up. And that's exactly what we're doing. Getting more Partisanis. And another Sherman. Shermans are really, like I keep saying, the real powerhouse. Keep Lossa in the game. But now Curbs has got some artillery on the field, and those 105s are pretty scary, especially when you have corrected shot bonuses. Especially on this map too, where it is choke pointy. Like I said, artillery's been nerfed. They do take a longer time to get that aim time bonus. But when, you know, you're just firing over concentrated areas on a choke point, it doesn't really matter all that much, as stuff's not going to be moving around. We see storm shooting, but regular shooting at close range. Or long range, I should say. I can keep on my close and long, it's all mixed up. Doing pretty good, as you see, against the guard DPs. He's got the Stug being brought in there. He's probably going to take some AT rifle shots. Actually gets a side shot, yeah, I think. Yeah, that was a side shot by the guard DP. That was pretty damn lucky. Pretty damn lucky. But as you see, we've got a very good flank here with the Big Leap Pioneer. It shuts down the Cis-2, which is going to allow the Stunks to cross the bridge. If they were fixed, then they're not. This is a very good maneuver here from Curbs, and this is going to be really tough to dig out now, use Big Leap Pioneers. We've got 2 Partisans being brought in. If they can get in close and use Molotovs, they can do something, but they're not going to get in close. They're not going to get in close. As you can see, this is the power of STGs. Just rare the Partisans, they've been deleted. Throws in the satchel charge for the grenade for good measure. And yeah, that's going to hold out point easy peasy. And this is also a problem not having any phase supply trucks as well. These mortars are pretty low in ammunition. And you can't resupply them. So he's going to have to raid... Oh, we're in B phase actually now. What am I talking about? We're in B phase. So that's actually good that he's managed to, you know, make him last that long, I guess. But they are pretty low in ammo and he still does want to get a supply truck. So B phase is pretty good still. Sort of less of an income curve. Or disadvantage. Oh, a little less of a disadvantage to Lossa. Now it's only a 20-point difference between both sides. And as you can see, Sherman on the right-hand flank is holding out pretty well. Deals with Martyrs easy peasy. Even the 50... Nice thing with dealing with Martyrs is that the 50 cal does stress him out rather efficiently. Even Nasty ones as well get stressed out by the 50 cal. Yeah, it's just bringing some Taparine Partisanis to help hold out point. But things could be going much worse. He's managed to hold out so far, and it's really just due to good use of Shermans and the mortars. Really helping out here. Like I said, this is a choke pointy map, and Lossa is doing a pretty good job of holding those choke points. He's just slowly building up infantry. He's getting that guard spam out now. He's got a B-phase card of 18 guards, so he can bring them up to, well, guard the point. But the Panzerschrecks are moving through, and you can see they're getting some pretty sneaky kills. Some very sneaky kills. And the artillery is being dropped in. And you can see do some pretty effective counter battery, knocking out one of the mortars. He's going to do the same thing over here again. And these are going to be some dead guard units. Unless a Sherman can... There's Shermans nearby. He can shoot out the Big Leap Pioneer. So let's see how this goes. I still think a Big Leap's probably going to win. As tank suit don't do that much damage against infantry that are entrenched. There we go. He opens fire. And... where did that guard... I think it was a guard unit, yeah, but not anymore. I know the Radevkas are also firing at long range as well, so yeah, it's probably going to be a dead Big Leap. But he did get a grenade out, so that's probably going to be a dead guard unit in a sec. Oh no, he moved out the building. Oh, he does manage to break line of sight, yo, with the Radevka and the Sherman. So yeah, it's not going all that well. And they're in the building once again. And in the building, even with they might go down now just because of how suppressed they are, but still, yeah. Got a lot of infantry to deal with that one Big Leap Pioneer squad, as you can see. They are really... STGs are scary, especially when they mix in G43s and MG42s. Just all three of those guns are really scary to fight against. But he's still holding. Only a, a one flag disadvantage. Curbs is starting to bring in some airplane support. A J-188 dropping in some big bombs. Or lots of bombs, small bombs. But if you add all those small bombs together, it's, one big bomb. Yeah, mainly bringing up Shermans and bringing up infantry. Pretty standard third mech play here. You see the Shermans, as they couldn't even see that Stug, as he didn't have any infantry supporting. He does manage to kill the Stug eventually, And look at his Panzerschreck. I'm really impressed with his Panzerschreck play with Curbs. He's gonna flank around and kill his Sherman, that's for sure. There he goes, he shoots, and he scores. The Sherman's unsupported. Gonna back out, definitely a good call. Even a rocket run, he really wanted that Panzerschreck dead. The ZIS-2's being killed, and we're seeing an IL-4 being brought in now. Not much AA on the German side. Oh, it's got 220 mils, but still not a huge amount. And he's going to be able to drop the payload easy peasy. And knocks out the leader unit, yeah, so that's pretty good. We do see an IG-33 here, and this is actually a really scary unit now, because it has heat shells. And it's a pretty derpy gun. It's KV2 levels of penetration, yeah. And when it penetrates, it kills, because it does 12 goddamn damage. So, you don't want to run into an IG-33. Is what I'm saying. But he's getting more infantry, more Shermans. It's pretty standard. And Curbs, he's doing kind of the same thing, but with Big Leap Pioneers, or Big Leap Grenadiers, I should say. It's really just a meat grinder, in all honesty. It's just a meat grinder. This map really does come into meat grinder battles. As once I say, it's so choke pointy. He's in the right hand flank. He's managed to regain his side of the river, and no one's gonna push through middle. It's really scary pushing through middle. There's so many areas where you can get shot at by AT guns. It's just a no man's land between here and there, and bloody everywhere. So everything's just really coming down to the left hand side. And as you can see, Lossa has built up a lot of infantry, and it's got Sapperies, and the Sapperies are definitely its best choice, or best option, against fighting against all those, scary German STG dudes. If you're getting close, satchel charges really do even out the fight. Even against these half tracks here, they're gonna get hit pretty hard by satchel charges. Especially when they're so bunched up. Yep. It's pretty much gonna knock out his big lead grenadiers, easy peasy. And this is a very good play from Lossa, flanking around, trying to get into the other side of the river. And if you can move up to here, you can pretty much secure the enemy side and bring in reinforcements. We are now into sea phase, and this is where things really start to kick into gear for Lossa. As you notice, he has 2 sea phase cards of Shermans. That's 24 Shermans he has available. That's a lot of Shermans, and he can get... You can almost get 3 Shermans a minute. He's like 10 points shy of getting 3 Shermans a minute. So it's a lot of Sherman spam. And the Shermans are really good against 78 because 78 lacks armor. It's really the Sugs that are the real scary thing. In Asherons too, but once you spot an Asheron, you can usually just return fire, especially if the Sherman stabilizes. You see, it's just spamming infantry. You just spam infantry. You got lots of Shermans now. So you play third guard. Third guard mechanized. More precise. As he slowly builds up his force on left. Bring some guard DPs for long range fire support. Actually the Pounder Strikes are going to be pretty useful. This is actually a very good map for Pounder Strikes. Just use the choke point and nature of it first, so it's pretty easy to guess where the tanks are going to be. And also, you've got like a lot of nice forest and building cover for you to sneak in. You see, he's sniped the Stug, yeah, easy peasy with the Panther Strike, but he's going to lose it. But that's still a good trade, a Panther Strike for a Stug. Take it any day of the week. Shermans are maneuvering through. I do think we have like one SU-76 back here from Lossa. He hasn't used it at all though, it's still completely full on ammunition. And you really want to use the SU-76 at very close range. Like pretty much where the Shermans are, just behind his, just so you can take advantage of the corrected shot bonus. But you see, just a bunch of Shermans moving through. Really scary against soft targets. We got a 9018 here, which can, you know, I think he does manage to kill one. Well, once it's spotted, it's dead. We are seeing Stugs, and Stugs in that area at longer range, it can prove to be a little bit scary, especially with 2 self-veterancy bonus, but the Shermans get some good critical hits, so some pretty good crits. He has lost the left-hand side, Joe, to the big elites, but he can just get more infantry. Yeah, it's just Sherman infantry spam. I really don't know what else to say. It's how you play third guard mech. Now he's just managed to outlast his opponent. It's throw trove and he still has quite a death flag rise, but he is gaining momentum. He is gaining that map momentum. I'm just gonna speed things up as it's pretty easy to just explain what's going on. There's again choke point on the left hand side, having a bit of a hard time pushing through as the Slugs are in a rather nasty position. He just needs to find an area where he can break through, and he's actually doing that in the middle now. And this is a pretty good call, as in the middle, even though it's a little bit tougher to push, as it's more open ground. Shermans don't like open ground. There's less stuff here. I mean, you see how Schuchen gets spotted, and the Schuchen is now kaput. He rushes the infantry across the river. Can't get the tanks over here, unfortunately, but at least he can stay out for fire support. T-26 is going to move up and dies. And we are seeing an Asshorn being brought in. And if Curbs... he's moving up in a very aggressive position. You really should just move up here and use it purely defensively. That's for when I cover 78th Stam. That's what I'm going to talk about, yeah. And also, you probably just want to turn off HE shells. It's not the best in terms of HE fire support. You really just want to keep it hidden. Only blowing up enemy tanks. The Shermans are pushing through left side here. Unsupported Joe, so they're not going to see his pack gun that is shooting at him. Until it shoots at him first, and they do manage to stress it out. Like I said, Shermans are really scary against soft targets. Thank God for 50 cals. I mean, the Americans knew what they were doing when they were making machine guns. And the application of machine guns, because they just put out 50 cal and goddamn everything. They still do it today. You can fix a lot of problems. Not all problems, but most problems with a 50 caliber machine gun. And he is using the IL-4. It's actually pretty effectively. It's also pretty good. Jack Curbs doesn't have a decent AA in it up, or actually fighters for the matter, so he's meant to get them out. Not losing them. He's got, you know, his few lags on the field, and the Cobras as well, doing some rocket runs, and you see he has meant to finally make the big mechanized breakthrough right through the middle, getting into this town. Lots of guards infantry. He's going to guard the point, and as you see, he's just flipping all the flags. And their Curbs has pretty much just ran out of stuff, it seems. You just get the guards everywhere. The left flank it's very, very nasty. He's dropping some bombs on the Stugs, it seems. Yep. And that should open up the left flank now. If you can just kill that bloody... Oh, yeah, it goes. Big bomb kills it. Now, Curbs is completely folded at this point. If there's, you know, A phase, B phase Rust division, you just kind of run out of stuff at this point. And that's going to be a good game. And in terms of KD, does man's get like a 500 kill advantage over Curbs in that matter. And in terms of chronology, it's pretty back and forth. So, yeah, from like a 7-minute to 9-minute mark, he does take lots of losses. Lots and lots of losses. But yeah, after that, it's pretty back and forth. And then once you get later stages, it gets a little bit more in favour, and then back and forth again. But yeah, like I say, back up here, a bit more in favour in terms of Lossa. And then yeah, he just starts killing all the Curb stuff, easy peasy like. And in terms of kills, it's pretty spread out. There's no real major contingency. Sherman's really doing a lot of the heavy lifting, as you can tell. And also the airplane's doing some pretty good hits. But yeah, as you see, it really does come down to the Shermans with their fine support role. In terms of losses, yeah, one big league Grenadier or Pioneer. They're scary, man. SDG infantry are really scary to fight against, but yeah, nothing else really too crazy from Curb's side of things. But yeah, that's Third Guard Mechanized. You build up stuff. I keep hammering this in. You build up your infantry, you build up your tanks, and you just kind of push. You just push somewhere, overrun them. Red Army, hurrah charge, human rave tactics, all that nonsense. Essentially, you can do A phase, B phase rushes this division. I don't want to like say that you can't do that, because you can do that pretty well if you do utilize those 2-star Shermans effectively, and maybe, you know, take more heavily vetted and more A phase infantry, like maybe some A phase Tappery dudes and A phase guard DPs to throw in as well. But it is a bit more tougher to do. And do not play this game, or do not play division team games. You're just gonna have a bad time. I can tell you that from experience. You just don't. Just don't do that. Stick with 1v1s and maybe 2v2s this division, and that's it, and you're gonna have a good time. But yeah, that's pretty much this video done and dusted with. So, I hope you guys found this divisional overview useful as usual, and enjoyed the video as well. And yeah, as usual, please just take it easy. Bye bye.